it was really miraculous that I even started to do numerology. It was really not on my radar. I was coming through a very bumpy time in my life, and three sets of friends who all didn't know each other all referred me to the same woman who did numerology for a reading. And me being stubborn was like, I was like, no, I'm not having any readings right now. Forget it. And I went out one Friday night with a group of friends, and she was there. I couldn't avoid it. So I talked with her, and I really liked her. And I had a reading, and it was life changing. We became friends, and she taught me the numerology, which I originally learned as a social icebreaker because I was extremely shy back then. And I wouldn't have known what to say if people came for readings if they didn't have questions. And so I originally learned it for the social icebreaker just to be able to start a conversation. And then when I saw what it could do, how it could be like a map and show so much about what we're here for, and um, insights into our souls and what we're learning and doing, I was like, wow. And it really has been like a life experience and study through observing how it works in different ways with different people. And it's always fascinating. So there are references I like to credit when I talk about the numerology. That would be Faith Javane and Dusty Bunker's work. I love their work. Harish Johari, wrote a Vedic numerology book, and also Gail Marie Sprague, my numerology teacher, who I learned so much from. She was a master. She knew hidden factors and quantums and numbers and things I don't even know, and basically could do the numerology for all the planets, because each planet basically has an address that's um, calculated based on numbers. So there's a saying, and it's in Faith Javane and Dusty Bunker's work, and my numerology teacher used to say this, that God geometrizes, that God communicates in geometric forms and symbols. And when I realized what day it is today, today we're in a 44, which is amazing. It's a master number. And 44 is a very powerful number. It's a number of accomplishment. So this is a great day to be networking and connecting with people and living in possibilities and reaching for the stars, because you can make anything happen in a 44. The key is to let go of what's not working and to focus on the opportunities that are coming and what is working, and to focus on the ball and take the opportunities and run with it. So, and if you do that, today's a success number, a number of accomplishment, manifest, actualization. So it's such a great day to be having this. And what I want to say to start is I'd like to just go through some of the numbers and introduce them in a way that I know them. And zero, let's start with zero, because zero is like a portal. And zero amplifies whatever it's with. And zero is one of the divine protection numbers. Let me give you some divine protection numbers, the main ones. 0, 17, 23, 50. All divine protection numbers. So when you see those numbers and they come up, that brings divine protection. 0, 17, 23, 50. Or any number that has a 0 on it has a certain amount of divine protection. So 0 amplifies whatever it's with. It expands it. And The one is the magician in the tarot, who calls on the forces of the spirit world, manifesting their intention in the physical world, utilizing the resources and tools around them in the environment to create magic. Well, you have to know what your magic is before you create with it. And one is the power to create. It's the power to, it's initiating actions to set things into motion. So it's a positive energy in creativity, the one. Initiating actions, creating magic, new possibilities, new thinking, new experiences, new environments, new people, taking risk, being seen. One is very innovative. And it's stepping up your game. One's like an all green lights number. It's amazing when it comes up. 2 is the ability to sustain what you create, the ability to keep it going. It's having trust, which is more actionable than faith, because faith can be more pie in the sky. Trust is actionable, to choose to have trust and to act on it. 2 is relationships, it's decisions, it's balance. Tell me if I'm going too fast for anyone. And this is what I want to say about decisions for a moment. If people have a scale of choices that they're making decisions with, 1 to 10, and 10 being best choice, so often people choose somewhere in the middle of the scale on their choice range, with 10 being best and 1 being worst. From the foods we choose to eat, from what we choose to fill our days with, you know, people go in and out of being conscious or unconscious all day long. And 10 would be a really conscious best choice. 1 would be worst choice. So with that, you know, I think it's so painful to want more for people we love and care about than they want for themselves. And we'd automatically, in our heart of hearts, want the people we love to make their best choices and to choose a 10, because that's what we would want for them. But some people are going to be more committed to making their worst choices, and they would automatically go for a 1. And it's disheartening. It's painful sometimes, but that's their journey at that moment or choice. And we get to create some acceptance of that in that moment and really rethink, because 2 is rethinking, where and who and how and what we want to put our energy into. Okay? So I'm going to spend a lot of time on 1, 2, and 3, okay? Because they're really important. So 3, and I'm going to come back to 1 and 2. 3 creates romance, enchantment, and magic. It also is an expansion number. 3 is like the window sample number. 3s like to experience it, try it, sample it, check it out. 3 is a very creative number. It's a fun number. 3 likes to connect with people, socialize. I call it like the dabbling number, the window shopping number, but it's a lot of fun. 3 is a fun number, okay? Because it's creative and social and likes to connect. So why I'm going to talk about 1, 2, and 3 is through a concept called thermal dynamics. So if you're clear, any of you, where you want to move the energy in your lives and draw and attract attention, you initiate actions in those areas, which is the one. And those efforts and actions produce energy. And the energy that gets produced through those efforts and actions, which is the one, the positive energy, attracts a certain amount of attention. People begin to notice, hey, there's something happening here. Look what's going on here. And so people begin to gather, and it brings more energy to that area. It attracts attention and brings more energy to that area. And the energy begins to build and amplify through those efforts and actions and people noticing and gathering. And life begins to notice. And life brings more energy there as well. And you can then take that energy that's being built and you can follow through with it, which is the two. And you can take it to a completely different level from which you started to create it with. And most people miss follow through, or they're in and out of follow through. So what I'm saying here is, when the energy gets built and you follow through, and you're completely present, being present produces a higher quality energy that doesn't get produced otherwise. But the more present you are, that energy gets produced. It's a higher quality energy, and you can add it to whatever you're doing and building and creating. So the one is the power to create, to initiate things through actions and efforts. The two can also be the second force. And now second force, it's a term from Gurdjieff work and fourth way work, but it goes with the numbers, which is why I'm going into it. Whenever we start something and we're all excited about it and we're gung-ho and we're moving forward and creating it and doing it, the second force is all the disturbance and resistance that comes up around it once you've started it, whether it's from other people, yourself, or what comes up to counter it. That's second force. Now, most people want to run from second force. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Why is this happening? You know, it's the disturbance. Because one of the premises in that work is there's no such thing as non-disturbance. Disturbance exists. But the difference is, if you run from it and avoid it, then it puts you onto a disintegration process of not dealing clearly with what is. Because you're wishing it for it to be different, you're not accepting it, you're wanting to make it something different. You're not willing to work with it and face it in the way that it is. And the second force, if you're on a spiritual path, it's like manna from heaven, life force from heaven, because you recognize it as material for growth, as a gift from heaven for your own growth and opportunity for transformation. So the second force is all the energy that counters what you've started and all the disturbance that comes up. And the third force, the three, is the neutral force. It's the grace. It's what life does with it. So you start it, the second force comes up, you do your best to move through it, and then you turn it over to life and you see what life does with it. And that's the neutral force, the grace. Okay. So it's a pretty amazing process when we turn it over to life. We allow things we create to become bigger, and then we watch and see what life does with it, and then we know where we can pick up the ball and go again. So we're co-creating with life. The four is the heart. The heart has four chambers. So four represents building, um, structure, stability, organization, the ability to be organized, structured, and disciplined, having clear boundaries, being able to define what your boundaries are. And this is the thing, I coach people too, and I found that um, in areas where people don't bother to define things is where there's a lot of mixed messages and ambiguity that shows up in their lives, or sometimes stuck energy. You can always change it, define it. But four is like being able to define it and put it into form and structure. And four can be a little stubborn because it's structured, it can be rigid. But four is the heart, and it's self-love. And self-love is like a lifetime contemplation because it shows up in so many ways. And it's like a lifetime contemplation and practice. Boosting self changes everything. And then is five's a fun number too, but it's always on the go. Five is movement, change, technology, communications, wisdom, fluctuations of values, or reprioritization of values, integration of different concepts and ideas. Five likes to be social too, and likes the freedom to experience rather than the need to accomplish. Five wants to experience things. And five gets very restless and bored if it's not challenged or stimulated. So with five, you always have to work on channeling restless energy into something worthy. But five is a very exciting number and a lot of fun. And is really into the experience of things. Six is the Divine Mother. Beauty, healing, light, and compassion, unconditional love, divine feminine, service, healing, light, all those things. Anytime you want to connect with the divine feminine, wear the color white. It's the color of the sixth dimension. What wins the grace and support of the Divine Mother is to help those that may not be in a position to help themselves, whether it's trees, flowers, animals, elderly, infirmed, institutionalized, homeless people, whatever it is. The seven is energy too, but it's spiritual. It's like, it's intuitive, it's knowledge, it's the mind. Seven can bring extremes. Seven chakras, the law of seven means there's a lot of things in the world with seven, like, seven main chakras. Seven is about energy. It's about going within. It's silence and the need for silence and connection with nature and environment. So seven's a very environmental and nature number, also connected with animals, research, writing, speaking, all those things. Seven's deep. Seven will give you a lot of depth. It's more inner. I want to say something about eight. Eight's power. Eight's about taking responsibility, ownership, meaning owning your ship. Eight's finances, money, investments. Eight is being professional, accountable, reliable. It's actions. It's like handle it now, make it happen. It's as above, so below. Half of the eight is on top, eight is below, which is the number of manifestation and actualization, which means when we close our eyes and we look within and we imagine the lakes, rivers, oceans, forests, jungles, deserts, mountains, night sky, and stars, whatever we can see, feel, and imagine when we look within, that's our connection to the spirit world. And that's the as above. The as below is the physical material world around us where we get our results. So if you ever want to know what your feedback is and what your results are, you open your eyes, you look at what's showing up in the world around you, and that's where you get your feedback and results. The more you wake up, and there's lots of layers of waking up, the more you clearly see there's no separation between the inside and the outside with what's occurring. It's all a reflection of what's going on the inside. So we could make it about other people. We could make it about other things, but ultimately it really comes down to how we feel and how we want to work with it and transform it within ourselves. Okay, so that's eight. Eight's an action number. Eight's a make it happen now kind of number. The nine is completions, letting go, learning how to receive, which is so huge for people. Nine is community. Nine is service as well. It's leadership. It's education. It's integrity. Can I come away feeling clean about this, or do I not feel clean about it? Am I leaving this a mess, or have I ultimately taken this to the level that I would like to take it to, so I can come away feeling clean and good about where I'm leaving it and completing it? Nine is higher consciousness, higher values and truths, sisterhood, brotherhood. So nine is about reaching out and touching many. It's like having friends from all social and economic backgrounds or religious backgrounds and connecting with many different kinds of people. But it does bring a lot of clearing away. And every 9 years in numerology, we get a 9 year. And that's a big growth year because we may not always feel in control of things in a 9 year. And it brings a lot of endings and completions, but it's a gift because it frees us up for the new cycle that starts the following year. And within every year, we get a 9 month or 2 sometimes, depending on where people's birthdays fall. So there's 9 months every year, which are completion months, big growth months, but great for education. That's why it's so valuable to know like the cycles of timing and what numbers are for what months and years. And that's part of numerology, is to look at the cycles and work with them harmoniously within ourselves. So we're not like in our way or up against it. 10 is the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot. So it's like change of fortune. The wheel is always spinning. We have no control over where it lands, but wherever it lands, that's our opportunity. We get to work with and create with what's there. So this is something very important I want to tell you in relationship to the 10. Because 10 is about luck and timing and being at the right place at the right time with the right people. And 10 is your inner guru. And it has the 0 with it. So it's amplifying the 1, which is creating a new path, new opportunities, magic. So this is what I want to tell you. Very important. We create our own luck. All right. So the 11's being inspired. Are you inspired by your life and what you're creating every day? And are you inspired by your mindset that you're choosing to plug into? Because if you're not inspired by your life, how do you expect anybody else to be inspired by it? And some people are super inspired in some areas, but other areas, their inspiration goes out the door. So what would it take to be completely inspired across the board? So 11 is about being inspired. It's about being motivated. 11 is mastery, which lives in the unknown. So let me give you an example of that. In order to develop space exploration, we had to develop the technology to get us there, which brought us into the unknown, or reverse technology from UFO crashes or from whatever human race was able to learn from aliens. However way it came, doesn't matter. But it brought us into the unknown. Okay? So that supported humanity to gain new levels of mastery. And now that we've done that, we're taking it further into the unknown to be able to do more with it, like asteroid mining or whatever else. So make the unknown your friend, because that's where mastery lives. That's where you learn and discover new things that can bring what you're doing to another level. So 11 is groups also. It's service exalted, it's beauty and aesthetics exalted, it's leadership exalted, it's events. Good for motivational and inspirational writing or speaking. Metaphysics go with 11. It's good. It's a strong number. It's also the angelic realms. It's the justice card in the tarot. So sometimes 11 is a law number when it comes up, and decisions, because the 2 is within it. But you don't add it up to become a 2, because once a number is the same digit repeated, it's a master number, and it stays that way. Any number that adds up to an 11 is a master number. Any number that has the same digits, like 22, 33, 44, 55, all of those are master numbers. Master numbers can be more challenging, but they're more rewarding. Like today, we're in a master number day. Okay? The planet has been in a 4 year. Well, 20 adds up to 2 plus 2 is 4 from 220. That's how I get that. So it's about self-love in a new way, building a new foundation from the heart. 20 is I'll just skip ahead to 20. 20 is the divine feminine wisdom being revealed. So it's a revealing year. And where 221 is going to be a 5, a lot of changes. Remember, 5's action-packed, exciting, lots of change, very dynamic. So we're coming into a very dynamic year with a lot of change. And then you can go by the months to see more. So all of it can be broken down and integrated and put together in a different way, which brings clarity. It's like a map. How I figure out people's life lesson numbers and career numbers. I add your month you were born, but let's say it was like the 10th month. I leave it as a 10. I don't go 1 plus 0. I leave it as a 10. If your birthday is a 10 month or an 11 month or a 12 month, I leave it that way. Then I add it to the day you were born, and I add the year you were born. I also leave the day. Well, yeah. Hang on, let me see something. Yeah, I'd leave the day, and then I'd add the year up together. So that brings your life lesson number, that total. And what your life lesson number adds up to, that's your life path number and career number. So I could see which careers would go for people based on their numbers. Not that they have to do those careers, but they'd be good at them, or they might like them, or there's something in them. I think it would be easy to show someone. Does anyone want to see what your life path number or career number is? Okay, Nita. Can you unmute yourself, Nita?
Yep.
Awesome.
I love this stuff.
All right. What month were you born?
February.
Okay. And the day?
28. 28.
28th.
28th.
Okay, so I would add 2 and 28. And I would get 30. Okay. And what year were you born?
1944.
Awesome. So I would add 1 and 9 is 10. 4 and 4 is 8. That would be 18. 10 and 8 is 18. 18 plus 30, 48. So your life lesson numbers of 48, it adds up to 12. So the double digit is the bigger picture, the life lesson number, and the 12 adds up to 3. And 3 is the more focused picture. Okay, it's like your life path. It's like your career number. So 3 is an awesome career number, but it gives you lots of interests and lots of talents. So there's lots of areas you could be focused on. But 3 can't handle being in an office cubicle 9 to 5. It just does not work for 3s. And 3, because there's so many interests and talents, it's so easy for 3s to get distracted, even though they're so good at everything that they're good at. So with 3, you always have to pick something that you like enough to go really deep into and develop a level of mastery with. And so your big lesson in life would be to minimize and watch distractions, because 3s are great at creating a lot of distractions because of so many interests, and to not overcommit, to not scatter your energies. But the careers that go with 3 are all the creative kinds of careers, or coaching, or entertainers, cruise directors, comedians, writing, anything creative, sales of art supplies, cosmetics, or vitamins, vocational rehab, career counselor, massage therapist. They're all across the board, the 3 careers: nurse, doctor, lawyer, judge, You know, there's so many. It's amazing, but it's a fun number and a great number.
Thank you. It,
Yeah.
you nailed a lot of stuff. I don't work in a cubicle. I have a creative career. I can easily be distracted and I always overcommit.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of the three. The numbers don't lie, people.
I,
It's amazing what you can see in a numerology chart.
yeah.
And it's not that I need the numerology charts because, you know, most people, 95% of people that would come for readings would come for intuitive readings because they get to ask more questions. But the numerology charts are so much information and it's like a life reading. It's like, wow. And then as that's only the beginning of it, like what I'm talking about. And one thing, I don't know how long I'm speaking for, so like stop me whenever it's time. Don't
You
be
have about 10 more minutes.
okay. So, wow. Okay, so let's just summarize it. um, so through this, I can look at people's karma numbers, which are missing numbers in the name. And karma numbers are opportunities because they're areas that are growth areas for us. They show up as more resistance, opportunities. Um, those are areas where we could come up against it a little more and bump into patterns that are reoccurring. And so that comes from missing numbers. So when people add to their name with one of their, like a married name or another name, doesn't have to be legal, but you'd have to use it sometimes or write with it or sign it with it. Um, that brings more of that energy and vibration from those missing numbers when you go through a name change or you add one of those missing letters. That helps the karma numbers. Otherwise, you learn about them through life. Um, and the karma numbers are very telling. Let me tell you. I could go through that, but let me just also say there's the soul number, which is who you are on the inside. That's the as above number. It's determined by the vowels in your name. But there's a rule with Y. When Y is in the name by itself, like the way Lynn is spelled in certain ways, Lynn, then Y counts as a vowel when it's the only vowel. But if there's another vowel in there, like an E at the end of Lynn, then Y would count as a consonant. There's how other people see you. There's a number for that. How you present yourself and show up in the world. The destiny number is everything you're working towards and striving to become. And then my favorite part of the numerology is the blueprint. It's called the divine triangle. And it's a blueprint of people's lives. And it shows what people are working with. It's like a map for each major segment of their lives, which would include major gateways, which are 5-year periods of like rotor-rooter transformation and changes. Major gateways are so intense or full on and rewarding, but major gateways, you know, it's like 5 years of breakthroughs and breakdowns happening simultaneously for 5 years when a major gateway happens. And if it's a double gateway, which happens at the end of a square on a blueprint with a major gateway, that's really dramatic. Okay. I don't even know how people get through double gateways. I had a major gateway and that was a wild. I went through so much in those 5 years. It was astounding. They usually bring a move. They could bring a relationship change, a career change, sometimes somebody close leaving, transitioning. It could be an illness or a health issue, going back to school, leaving a spiritual path or going on to a new path. But it's big, big changes those 5 years, or a legal issue. But it's definitely a wake up when there's a major gateway. And those are some of the most challenging years of people's lives when they have one. When most people have one. we have the natural gateways changing squares, and that's what makes it a double gateway on the blueprint. But the blueprints are divided into 3 squares. There's the youth square from 0 through 28 years old. There's the power square, time of productivity, momentum building, and accomplishment from 28 to 54 years old. And then there's the wisdom square, time of rewards from 55 to 81 years old. At 81 years old, some people believe we would go deeper into our youth square, full circle, still retaining the wisdom that we have. Other people believe we go deeper into our wisdom square. Either way works. It's all intentional. According to the Vedas, the ancient scriptures, people can live to be 120, where we're currently at. If the medical got deregulated a little more, we'd have more scientific breakthroughs and technological breakthroughs that could extend that. So I can answer questions at this point if anybody has questions before we end. Yeah. You're need to unmute.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Cavalierian Society of Canada?
I've heard about it. I've had friends that have changed their names through it. I hate doing name changes as a numerologist. Hate it. So I refer people to that
Okay.
for name changes. But I don't know their number. I just tell them the name.
Yeah. And how, if somebody wanted to do a reading, would they just contact you and set up a Zoom meeting?
Yeah. My website is Inner, INNER, Precision, PRECISION.com. My mobile, 707 548 7500. I'm good with text, but you can call me too.
Okay, great,
And I can get international text.
great. Okay, anybody else have questions?
Yes, Lisa. You got to unmute. Perfect.
So one thing that I'm very curious about, and I don't know if this applies to numerology, but there was a point last month where I was waking up at the exact same time for about 3 or 4 days in a row. And how does that apply to numerology?
Well, what time were you waking up?
It was like 2:32 in the morning.
2 and 3 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So that's very spiritual. A lot of spirit is running your life. It's like a lot of spiritual energy coming into you. You know, you had a very strong Native American lifetime.
Yeah, I actually am related. I am related to Native Americans.
Yeah, well, you've had other lifetimes of that. So if you were to explore that more, it would open up a lot for you.
So if that happens again, I just add all the numbers of the time if it happens again and see what kind of a message I'm getting from that number. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, thank you so much.
7's intuition. It's the mind. It's knowledge. It's silence. 7s are always energized by nature and silence and intuition.
Wonderful. Thank you, David.
Yeah, and Tim.
Yes, David, thank you. I was wondering what numerology would say about humanity now and its current situation.
Well, the 20 year has been a year of the great revealing, a lot revealing this year. and a lot of information wars for control of the narrative. The big message of the 2, which this 20 adds up to 2, is balance. So balance has been the big message this year for humanity and for all of us. And decisions. And coming into that 5, because 20 would be, 2002 is like 2 2s. Working with others, cooperation. Most people don't like to cooperate unless they're pleasers. People want things their way. But but yet everything we think about and what we do has an impact. And this year, humanity's been learning about impact on a whole other level. And the 5 is just going to bring so many changes in this next year. It's just going to be like, 5 feels like a race car when it's happening. Lots of ideas integrating and coming at once. It's going to be this next year will feel like a race car. And a lot happening. So it'll be an exciting year, but a year of a lot of change coming. Right. I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Argen.
Yeah, Patricia. Sorry, I forgot to change it. I was wondering about Lisa's example, the 232, since it's a palindrome, left to right, right to left is the same. Is there any meaning into that?
Yeah, because everything is based on perspective and perceptions of how you want to view it from. So you have the balancing on both ends and the 3 in the middle, and the 3 expands it. Remember, 3 is creating romance, enchantment, magic. So the creativity is at the heart of it all. But it still adds up to 7. Yeah. Afton.
Yeah, is it fair to say in the collective then that 2020 has thrust us into the shadow in order to learn lessons to move into the very rapid 2021 in which we're going to integrate that and use it for growth of the collective?
Yeah, the purpose of the shadow, everybody, is to show us what we need to heal.
That's what it seemed like, yeah.
So sometimes it takes years to name a shadow piece correctly. But when you can name it correctly, it dissipates the whole grip or hold it has on you. And shadow pieces can be so uncomfortable to bust up, but so liberating as a result of doing that work. Did that answer it?
Yeah, no, that's what it seemed like as you've been talking. And it feels like that's what's happening.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you know, the things like astrocartography, where it shows where your planetary lines go through the world, that's amazing, because like where there's Pluto lines, it can pull up a lot of deep shadow. Because Pluto's power and communication, but it's also shadow, because it's the underworld too.